Okay. Cool. I think we're live now. Sorry, I had a bit of struggle because it was one of those moments, you know how Google's like, hey, by the way, I just randomly signed you out of your account. It did that just as I was trying to go live. But I'm here now. Hello, everybody. My name is Crystal Lynn Sophia, and this is the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom's Monday Magic Mood Boost. And that's a lot of M's, and I really like it. So I'm excited to be here today. We have a really cool weekend coming up. This is my favorite week of the year, I think total. I'm trying to think through the rest of the year, and I'm pretty sure this is my favorite one. So I'm really excited for everybody who's here to be able to chat about it. Thank you, Amber, for being our amazing, good morning, for being our amazing moderator. And to everybody who is here, feel free to jump in the chat. It's a lot more fun when we get to talk to each other. And it's going to be a really good day. It's going to be a great week. So why is it going to be a great week? It's going to be a great week because good morning, Liz. Good morning, Amber. And good morning, Russ. It's going to be a great week, not only because you guys are here, but also because we get both benefics going into signs of their dignity. Why am I so adamant about this? Because we have not had benefics in the sign of their dignity. And in fact, we've had benefics, both of them pretty much in their detriment or retrograde in the sign of their exaltation, which was a struggle for them since January. So you know how rough this year has felt? Like January turned over and we were all like, good God, what happened? Hey, Hunter. Hey, Caitlin. That should get better. And here's why I'm really looking forward to this. A, Venus is my time lord. I'm working on my relationship with her, but also we have had Jupiter in the sign of Jupiter's detriment since last May in Gemini. There's nothing wrong with having Jupiter in Gemini. It's just not where Jupiter thrives at his peak, right? So Jupiter over this weekend, and in fact, it's going to be on the 9th exactly. On the 9th of June, Jupiter will move into the sign of his exaltation and stay there for a year. And I'm really excited about this. Hi, Kathy. Not only because it's my Jupiter return, where my Jupiter is natally, but also because this is the sign of Jupiter's exaltation. This is a 1 in every 12-year cycle that we get to experience where Jupiter is at Jupiter's best. Are there some caveats to this? Yes, but it's not going to be, hopefully, it's not going to be something that pulls away from it entirely. And I will talk about that a little bit as well. So along with that, though, Venus, who moves a bit quicker than Jupiter, she's going to be coming into the sign of her dignity. She's coming into Taurus this weekend. She will come into Taurus on, I believe it's the 6th. She'll come into Taurus on the 6th. She has been in either Aries or Pisces. Aries, where she is actually in detriment and struggles. Pisces, where she's exalted, but spent most of her time there in retrograde since the beginning of the year. So both of the benefics, both of the planets who are in charge of giving us good things could not fulfill that promise this year so far. Now they are both moving into signs that allow them to really fulfill those promises, to say, hey, Santa's got a bag and it's not just full of coal. We actually have the things that you've been wishing for in here. It's like a glitch in the magic bag has been fixed and patched. So that is what I am looking forward to this weekend. It's not common, it's not super duper common that we have both of the benefic planets struggling at the same time. This is something we have experienced this year. Why am I telling you about it now? Because you've almost made it through. So I would be happy. I think I've mentioned it before. It's not that I would have kept it from you all the way up until this point, but I really like celebrating, hey, there's this really hard thing that's been happening, but guess what? You're almost done. So we are almost done. Hello, Melissa. It's good to see you. And so I'm very excited. I'm happy to be able to report to you that not only is one benefic finally getting into a sign that better suits them, but they both are. Venus is going into domicile, which is nice for Venus. Jupiter, the greater benefic, is going into exaltation, which is thought to be even better. It's like domicile plus another guy, right? So it's really, really good for Jupiter, and we get to keep Jupiter there all year long. Now, Krista, you said there might be a caveat to this. I absolutely did, because I'm not going to sugarcoat things or bypass for you. So the one thing we need to keep aware of, and I will interpret this into like, what can you do to really honor this, to have the most graceful time about it? The one thing that we need to think of here, and actually, would you guys like to see this on the chart? Let me know in the chat if you would like me to show you this on the chart, because there's a mini astrology lesson I'm going to teach you to go along with this. Yes, please. Thank you, Liz. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this over here where I can make sure this is the only thing we need to worry about working with. Boop. There we go. And I will share with you my Luna. Also, some other news coming up. I may have more than just Luna to be able to share with you soon. So I cannot see my screen right now, which is weird. If I bring up my live stream there. Okay, so can you guys see my cursor? Can you guys see the cursor? Is it like on the ascendant, the AC right now? This is the old software, Russ. Yeah. I will tell you about the new software in a second. No, you cannot. Okay. So I want to, I don't know. I want to be able to see the chat, but how did I do this before? And why am I having a brain fart? But anyway, I'm on the screen now. You should hopefully be able to see it. I'm going to explain this and then I'll pop back over to where the chat is. So we have our lovely chart here. You can see Venus. This is right now. So if I update this to now, Venus is up culminating. So if you looked directly above you right now and you're on the East Coast, you would be looking to where Venus is. Would you see her? Probably not. The sky is bright. You're not going to see a star in it right now, but she's there. So Venus is culminating. Mars is getting ready to rise over the horizon. The sun is about mid-morning. Mercury is right next to it. So under the beams of the sun, if you tried to look for Mercury, you'd blind yourself. Don't try it. Jupiter is nearby there as well. So when we look at this, actually, you can see we don't have many planets that are visible right now in the sky because most of them, actually all of them, are out while the sun is up. After the sun sets, you might be able to see Jupiter in the early evening toward the west horizon. Jupiter will be a nice bright star over there. And then later you'll be able to see Mars. He'll be more towards the top of the sky at that point. Venus will already be underneath the horizon, as will Saturn. We actually can't ever see Neptune and Uranus only sometimes in Uranus's 84-year cycle. So look tonight for Jupiter and Mars. Those will be the two planets you'll be able to see. But what we're talking about right now is Jupiter. So let's pop Jupiter over into Cancer, which will happen on June 9th. So we'll look at the chart for when that happens. So Jupiter comes into Cancer right here on June 9th. And almost immediately, you can see Jupiter is at 0 degrees, Mercury is at 1 degree. So they're close together for this. But also this red line here draws down to Saturn, who is at 1 degree of Aries. This red line shows that there is a square angle between Jupiter and Saturn. This is part of a 20-year cycle. And it's been kind of going off and on, right? Because Jupiter was in Gemini and Saturn was in Pisces. So they were both back a little bit. They've been squaring each other for quite a while. The way this shifts, though, is that Jupiter was in detriment while Saturn wasn't really in anything. And as you can see, if we were to imagine in your head turning this chart so Jupiter was over on this eastern horizon here, Saturn would be at the top of the chart. So we would move Jupiter down here, which would move Saturn up here. And because Saturn would have the sky at this moment, Saturn in this angle, because Saturn is, what is that, to the right? I think it's to the right. Because Saturn is to the right of Jupiter, Saturn is considered to be sort of overcoming Jupiter, right? Has the upper hand in that aspect. I should probably do this. It's a little bit easier. So because of this, Saturn is able to enforce their themes a little bit more. The good news is Jupiter moves faster than Saturn. So eventually Jupiter will surpass Saturn and this aspect will separate. I believe it's in July that we get the exact movement of this, that we get the actual catch. Let me just check my calendar here. Actually, we get it in June. June 15th is when they will square each other exactly and for the final time. So that's the good news because Jupiter will continue to move direct. Saturn will slow down to a stop and move backwards, go back into Pisces, come back into Aries, blah, blah, blah. Jupiter's cruising. So we see that this aspect forming right here is that one little caveat, but it doesn't last super long, right? So by sign, they will be squaring each other for most of this year, pretty much half of next year. And so that's by sign, but this tension of the aspect being very, very close, like to where you could pluck the string and hear the note of it, That is happening mostly this month. So we get it out of the way pretty quickly. Saturn does again have the overcoming. So Saturn is saying, hey, Jupiter, I know you're going nuts over there in Cancer, where everybody thinks you're amazing and you get to have all the things you want because you're sponsored. Like, you don't have to make your own money to buy your stuff. People are buying it for you. That's exaltation, right? It's when people give you stuff. But also, don't get too cocky. So that's what Saturn is doing. Now, I mentioned before, we had last year, Jupiter was in the sign of his detriment, right? He was in Gemini. He was not doing so well. Saturn was in a sign where he's neither detriment nor dignified. So he was kind of middling, we would call it. But now Saturn is in the sign of his fall, and Jupiter is in the sign of his exaltation. So Saturn is actually the reputation. Imagine if you were sponsored. Let's go with that analogy. If you were sponsored, Saturn is having the sponsorships revoked. No one is supporting Saturn in what Saturn is trying to do. Saturn has lost reputation. Jupiter, however, has gained it. Jupiter has gained more sponsors and is being funded, right? So even though Saturn is there giving Jupiter that side eye saying, don't get too cocky, kid, we have Jupiter who is like, yeah, but everybody's paying me. So you still get the benefits. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to remain humble, even though you're exalted, right? So that is something that I want us to keep in mind. And this is the lesson here is overcoming aspects. Overcoming means which planet is winning the tug of war by just a little bit. In this case, it's Saturn, because Saturn is to the right of Jupiter. I'm really bad with left and right. I usually do the like who's got the sky thing. That's my way of remembering it. So if we were to move Jupiter over to the ascendant, Saturn would hold the sky and therefore is winning. And that's how I would remember it. However, if I'm correct and it's to the right, which I think it is when I remember ancient texts, Saturn has the right of it, right? So you could use that as well and say that Saturn is winning because Saturn has the right of it. Jupiter is to the left, Jupiter is losing. Use the L and the R kind of as an example there. Okay, so now I'm going to come back over to my live stream, catch up. Okay, great. Now you see it. Great, 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 great. Awesome. So that is your lesson on overcoming aspects. If you want to learn more about astrology, of course, I do teach it. So you can join the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom. We will learn all about astrology there step by step in ways that make sense and build off of each other. And yes, I use analogies there as well. So that is what we're seeing right now. Jupiter is coming into exaltation. Venus is coming into her domicile. The benefics, which did not have the resources to give us good things for the majority of this year, will finally have the resources to give us good things. What does that mean when we apply it to like what life has been like? If you feel like you cannot get ahead, if you feel like nothing has been working, if you feel like it's just been an absolute struggle. And it's like, what does luck even feel like? I've lost all of it because I don't feel like there's any blessing happening in the air right now. Like it's stagnant. Then that's probably the feeling that you felt of both benefics struggling. If we have two benefic deities, two deities of good fortune saying, I give you only good things. Again, think of Santa Claus, right? I'm going to reach into my bag. I'm going to pull out what you asked for, except if the bag is busted. So the bag has been busted. Venus wants to pull out flowers for you. Venus wants to pull out beauty and art and things that you value, but it's been busted. So she's been pulling out like dead flowers. Whoops. She's been pulling out things that like have been too dry and too lacking in abundance and joy and those kinds of things. She's been pulling out some struggles. Jupiter likewise has been doing the same thing. Jupiter wants to pull out abundance. Jupiter wants to pull out the word yes to everything that you ask for. Jupiter wants to pull out, the ability to give you things and to give you a cornucopia of support and luck and fortune and blessings. And what Jupiter has been able to pull out is like, here's kindling for the fire I would like to give you, but I don't have a match. So that's where we've kind of been with the situation with the benefics, and it is changing. So this weekend, they will both move into signs that are better for them. And we get a really nice stint with both of them there. Like I said, Jupiter is going to hang out there. Let me get Luna back to where Luna belongs. Jupiter's going to hang out there until next May, I believe. So we have Jupiter in Cancer from the 9th of June straight through until looks like June 30th next year. So we get a full year of Jupiter in Cancer. It will be wonderful. I'm stoked about it. So we have Venus moves, like I said, a lot quicker than Jupiter does. So she's going to be in Taurus until she gets into Gemini on July 4th. But again, she's not struggling in Gemini. She'll get between now and next June, she'll make it pretty much all the way around. By the time we hit next June, she will be making her way. Come on, my internet's slow, so it's not going to show me. But she'll be getting really, she's actually moving really fast. She'll get back into Leo again by next year. So she's going to make it more than all the way around the zodiac. Why is this? Because Venus has finished a retrograde. So Venus is moving very quickly and does not have to worry about retrograding again for about a year and a half. So in this time, she's cruising. She is full speed ahead. She's going to get about 45 degrees away from the sun at any given time before the sun starts catching up to her. This is because, and we'll do our lovely thing. If you picture this blue box as Venus and this little one, I know planets are square now, just work with me. This is Venus, this is the sun because it's bigger, right? We see the sun from Earth's perspective or your perspective. You can play Earth in this one. So you're Earth. And we know that Venus is between the Earth and the sun, right? So sometimes we'll see Venus here. This is when Venus is going retrograde. So Venus goes in a circle around the sun, just like we do. And so if I'm going to pull this around the sun, what you're seeing in 2D land is actually looking back and forth, right? To you, it looks like she's just moving back and forth. That's what it looks like from Earth's perspective as well, because we're on a level playing field, right? So when Venus is going behind the sun from us, she's moving direct. When Venus is going in front of the sun from us, she's moving retrograde. So we have direct Venus, retrograde Venus. This past year, we had retrograde Venus from March until April. Now she will go direct for quite a long time until she goes in front again. So that's what we're dealing with. And the interpretation of that, of course, is a struggle for Venus, where she would like to be moving forward and giving things. She has to walk back. She has to reassess. She has to revisit the past and say, you know, what needs healing before I can move forward, as we all do. If you had some relationship struggles between, let's just say, January and actually like earlier this month, then that could be attributed to Venus's struggle bus period. So Venus does relationships, she does art, she does valuables, which can sometimes be what you spend your money on. So you want to be careful with that, because sometimes Jupiter does money, as in like the money that we have that are our riches. Mercury does money, as in the money we're exchanging in business every day. And then Venus does money, as in the money that we place value in, where we buy something that we really love. So again, it gets into the archetypes with that. Orbits are awesome. I think it's really cool when you can actually see the why something is happening. So I love to show that as well. Yes, cool. Making her way downtown. Yeah, she is. Caitlin, I love planets being in square. Yeah. And again, back to the planets that are in square, Jupiter and Saturn. I mentioned that that's part of a 20-year cycle. This cycle that they are in started on December 21st, 2020. So we are in this period of kind of looking back at that and saying, what's changed? How far have we come? What do we still need to work on? Remember, the right angle of a square, it actually forms a 90-degree angle, right? It makes like a square. And I'm doing this because I'm going to make an analogy out of it. You have to put some elbow grease in. So when you see a right angle or a red line in your chart that is not going across the entire chart to create an opposition, you're seeing a square aspect. That square aspect indicates that there is a sensation of action that comes with this. There is action required in order for this to happen. And so we need to put a little bit of elbow grease in when we see these aspects coming. So this aspect between Jupiter and Saturn that has been in effect for the last year, right? So it's nothing new. It's just getting a different power dynamic. This aspect that has been in effect is showing us, hey, we gave ourselves some time to figure out what's going on, but now we need to decide what normal looks like again, or not even normal, because I don't really believe in normal anymore. I'll tell you why if you want to hear that. But we need to decide what our focus is, what's important. We need goals and we need to start working for them. We need to take action. And so that is what we've been able to to really start assessing. Probably if we're going to consider it like Jupiter being in detriment, we saw what needs work. And now with Jupiter taking that position of being exalted and being able to do the good things, now we say, okay, I see the problem. I want to fix it. I have solutions. So that's what we can maybe focus on if you're looking for a focus for yourself during this period of time. As we get closer to the 15th of June, when that aspect perfects, we'll probably see in the headlines different things that resonate with stuff that we've been working on since 2020. So don't be surprised if those kinds of things come up again. They already kind of are. So that's something to be able to keep in mind, and just a little bit of reassurance that if you're seeing it, it's okay. This is the time for us to be doing it. So it's right on time. It's okay. And we will figure it out because the sky moves on and so do we. So best of luck to all of us individually in that as well. Yeah. So normal to me does not exist. I think we gave ourselves the illusion, probably in the 90s, late 80s, that it did, early 2000s. I think we've come to realize again, though, thanks to 2020 and onward, that normal is kind of an imagined concept. It's like time, right? Normal is an amalgamation of many things that we average together. And here's a mini rant for you. Here's a mini rant for you. I don't believe in the average person. I don't believe in the normal person. I don't believe that you can be average. Why don't I believe that you can be average? Because let's define average for a second, right? I'm going to do some math, which is not my strong suit, but this is one of the things I can do. If you take a bunch of numbers, just a list of numbers, and you average them out, what you're doing is you're adding them all together. You're taking each individual number, adding it together, and then dividing by the amount of numbers that you added together. So like if you have a set of 5 numbers, you're going to add them all up until you get the total of those 5 individual numbers, divide that by 5, and you get the average of those numbers. Okay, great. So in math, that works, right? Oh, the average of these numbers, they average out to be this one number. Now do that with people. 5 unique individual people, you can't average them out into one person. But we do that. We actually have created average. And I feel that we've created it in the realm of social media. I feel that what we see in the algorithm, what we see people portraying, what we are delivered in our timelines on social media is the average of what a person puts out or what that timeline believes we want to see. You are not seeing the full spectrum of that individual person that you follow. You're not seeing the full spectrum of me right now. You're seeing some of the best of me, but we all have different versions on the spectrum of our experience that come out. Sometimes we're at our strongest, sometimes we're at our weakest, and sometimes we're in the middle. That is not something that you can average out. You can't average out humanity. You can't average out a unique person. And you certainly can't average people, a group of people, into one person and say, this is your ideal and you have to become this, because then we don't need 8 billion people in the world. We don't need astrology. We don't need any other personality profile thing. We don't need any other job but one, because you'd have one person or 8 billion copies of one person and no point in any of the things that we philosophize about, any of the things that we think deeply about. You wouldn't need them. You wouldn't need difference or anything like that, because the average would exist, but it doesn't. So we have 8 billion individual people. However, many of those people feel pressured to become that average. And so then we get people who are unique and special and important and a crucial piece of this 8 billion piece puzzle who are trying to cut themselves into a shape that they weren't born to fill. And so that shape that they were born to fill is open and empty in the puzzle, and the picture is incomplete. And so we do ourselves a disservice by trying to become the average, or by trying to be normal, or by trying to be anything other than what actually makes us feel joyful and seen and expressive. And when I say joyful and seen and expressive, I want you to understand that I'm saying your true joy, not what you believe joy is, not what you believe other people will praise you for, but your actual joy. I think that if we follow that, we will not get stuck in the idea of, becoming someone we're not, or falling victim to vices, or all of those things. Now, never in life, of course not. That happens all the time. We are going to go back and forth between amazing and growing at all given times. That's what life is. That's what we do. And in every moment of that, you're being perfect as long as you're staying true to yourself. We have had a rough couple of months, right? I just finished explaining how, Venus and Jupiter were not giving us many good things. So a lot of us may have been living in a situation where we did not feel at our peak. I know I did. I was in a situation that I think is the hardest I've ever experienced. And y'all, I've had brain surgery. I would do it 10 more times rather than relive the past 5 months. No joke. So, was I living as my best self? Not necessarily, in my opinion. I could have been happier, right? But I was learning a lot about how to allow myself to be my best self more often, how to let my best self be my normal. It's not anybody else's normal. It doesn't qualify as normal to literally anybody else I know. But there are people out there who love me for it. And then there are people out there who find other people because we're not compatible. And that's okay. I have found so many people, you guys included, that that make me feel better. Gabe, I just saw your math rant. Thank you, thank you. So that's what I believe. I don't think you should ever strive to be normal or the average or anything that you see in media, because that is averaging for you. It's like having a calculator that does the work without you asking it to. And so it presents you with this number that you then think is the goal or the version that you should be striving for, and it's absolutely not. So may you all feel really good about yourselves, because I think you're special. And I guess that's the point of it. And that's my mini rant. So thank you all. Um, let's see. I see we have a question up here. Let me pop over to it. Also, hi, Gabe. Good to see you. Curious about Jupiter and Cancer transits as a whole. I'm a Leo rising who finished a 12th house year to almost immediately get Mars in Cancer. My North Node is also in Cancer. Help. Okay, Ren, because of all that, you might want to book a reading. And you'll be actually helping me because I'm going to be testing a new program soon. But because you're trying to get very specific with your life and what's going on for you, if I were to generalize Jupiter and Cancer transits, it would not feel, again, I'd be averaging, which is what we do on astrology social media, right? We're averaging out. We're saying, hey, Cancer is the house that is the 12th from the 12th. Yeah. So if I were, let's do this. I'm going to average for you and we'll see how personal it feels, right? So if we're saying Jupiter and Cancer, with you coming out of a 12th house, you're a Leo rising. So Cancer was your perfected sign. Yes. So if you're a Leo rising, you're coming out of a period where Cancer was your perfected sign. And it looks like what you're saying is that you finished your 12th house year for Mars to move into Cancer. So does that mean that you missed Mars in Cancer and that after your birthday, Mars moved into Cancer, in which case Mars is not as active in doing what Mars would do, right? So in that case, I wouldn't worry about the Mars and Cancer thing. The North Node thing, I'm really not worried about in general as a traditional astrologer, unless there's a planet natally on it or very close to it, or if it's being aspected, or if the current eclipses are happening there, which they are not. So I think your North Node is safe unless your chart shows something different, in which case I would want to be able to look at your chart, which is why a consultation would be best. So in that case, yeah, Jupiter's coming into your 12th house. It's exalted there. You might have a really good year for healing. You might have a really good year for taking time to yourself. You might have a really good year in therapy and making good progress there. You might have a very creative year. You might have a year of really good spiritual development. All I'm doing right now is taking 12th house themes and putting Jupiter in them and saying really good. So that's kind of what I can do without looking at an individual chart, right? So I hope that at least one of those things resonates. Depends on when your birthday was, depends on a lot of things. There's a lot I can't tell unless I'm looking at your individual chart. But if you wanted to book a consultation, I would go into your chart with so many details and I would work it out and coach and do all the things. And we would come out with a specific, not only why everything happened so it makes sense and feels better, but also what to do now. Or if we're in a waiting period between things not feeling good and feeling good, what to do in that meantime, which is really important, right? Now, hopefully, because Jupiter is coming into Cancer and you're focused on this part of your chart, that means that things are going to alleviate, right? And Mars being in there was not awesome. Mars is actually in fall in Cancer. So Mars is, like we were talking about Saturn earlier, Mars is particularly not happy there. Mars is particularly not supported there. So having Mars in Cancer really made things I'm thinking like think about like a bubbling, boiling pot of water, right? It's irritated and it's your emotions if we think about water, right? So Mars being there, not great. I actually had a friend at Norwalk that found a song and I need to listen to it, but they encapsulated Mars in Cancer with the line, I wish I could swim back to shore to feel masculine again. And that was so on point for the archetypes of Mars in this watery sign. Now, Mars isn't totally terrible there. It's just its least favorite sign to be in, but Mars does have some triplicity there, being a sort of nighttime planet. So again, that depends on other factors as well. But there are things that we could, make the best of until it passes in those situations. That being said, you're coming into a first house year. So 12th house years notoriously are years of healing. They're notoriously years of going inward, of working on yourself, or finding out things that you need to work on and heal in your life. I'm in a 12th house year right now. It's already very much shown up for me, and I've adjusted my priorities appropriately. I'm trying to, and there's going to be a struggle of allowing myself the rest, the inactivity, and those kinds of things. You're finishing that up, which I think is great, because you're coming into a first house here then from your ascendant anyway. And so your first house here from the ascendant coming into this time where Leo is activated for you, depending on what planets you have in that chart, and also the sun being able to be more active. This is a time where you might come into feeling more expressive, where everything that you've been healing actually becomes part of your embodied self. So that's fantastic. You might even be able to feel your unique self and the appreciation for it more this year. That's my hope for you anyway. And again, if you decided to do a consultation, I would go into this as deeply as I could, and I would make sure that you feel great by the end of it. That's always my goal. So yeah. Sassafras Kath. I love that name. And I agree. The weekend was a bit of a doozy. I was tired all weekend, like all weekend. Um, but Ren, I hope that that helped a little bit. It was a great question, and I hope that what I was able to do was a little bit useful. Let's see. Yes, cool. I'm catching up here, you guys. Oh, Liz, thank you. That's really nice of you. Um, Oh, you're that Kath. Okay, great. I am going to be prepping your chart probably tomorrow morning, and I can't wait either. Yeah, and I should. So this is a great opportunity for me to tell you guys I'm helping to beta test a new astrology software. I showed you earlier in this video Luna, which is an excellent software for if you're getting into astrology and beginning with it. It's very easy to work with. It's very visually appealing. I am now helping Gabe. I'm helping Nechepso with their beta testing. It was supposed to come out on the 28th, but it didn't. So I've been in the Discord for that, just watching with bated breath, because I kind of backed up all my charts that I want to prep so that I can test it in Nechepso. And it should come out today. It should be downloadable later today. I think they said around 120. They're trying to get a Virgo election, and I'm wondering about, it's perfect for a beta test. That's kind of the ins and outs of it. So we will get, yeah, I'm very excited. I actually very excited about this too. Demetra, while we were at Norwalk, found out Demetra George is one of my most admired astrologers. For anybody who doesn't know, I recommend her books all the time. I use her two really big books, these guys right here, as a backbone to the curriculum of my teaching in astrology. And she found out that I'm part of the beta team for Nechepso, and I get to help her beta test the asteroid module for Nechepso. So I'm very excited about that too. That's going to be super duper fun. I'm looking forward to having all of the things that I do with the chart in one place instead of having to go back and forth between programs right now. I can sometimes go back and forth between 3 or 4 different programs to do what I want to do. And Nechepso should have all of the things in one place, which will be great. And if it doesn't, because I'm on the beta team, I can be like, hey, can we add this, please? It would be great. Currently, It looks like they're going to kick off doing a monthly thing because I'm part of the beta team. I got lifelong access and I'm really excited about that. But it will make things so much easier. Yeah. And I'm very excited. So if you have a consultation coming up with me, I'm going to be testing all of your stuff with Nichepso and I will be giddy about it. And hopefully, they're trying to make it really good too, where you can integrate it with YouTube. I kid you not. So hopefully next week on our Monday Magic Mood Boost, I will be able to show you Nichepso and test out that YouTube module as well so that you can help me beta test and make sure it works. Be prepared to work out some glitches with me on next Monday's live. What we can do for next Monday's live is we can do something a little bit more personal for that so that we can play with it a little bit more. Where maybe with Jupiter coming into Cancer over the weekend, I'll look at different rising signs, different, if you give me your age, we can do different perfection years and just kind of go into some general stuff that's just slightly more personal than what I can typically do on social media. I'll give you a little preview of what it's like to have a consultation. I will do my best for that. But yeah, it'll make things a lot easier and I'll be happy to share it with you. I don't know yet what the monthly price is going to be. I don't know yet if it's something that I feel like I will recommend for someone getting into astrology. I might, the way I'm kind of leaning right now is that I would recommend Luna until you feel really comfortable and you've outgrown it, which is possible to do at this point. Kevin, who developed Luna, is really great. And it's a very awesome software. I do love how easy it is. However, it does not have a lot of the traditional stuff in it. So if you're learning with me, eventually you will want to move on to a different program, which would then, in my opinion, hopefully be Nichepso. Right now, I have one other program that I work with, and it's robust, but also it crashes very easily with the things I try to do to it. And it's got an interface that's very much Windows 98. So I would like something a little bit more smoother to use, and I'm very excited about this new program having those abilities. The tests that I've seen so far, the demos that I've seen are really encouraging, and because I will have even more modules to work with, and they're doing some things in there that have not been done before, particularly with asteroids. I'm going to start experimenting with incorporating asteroids as one of the considerations that I use in a chart as well. So if you're someone that you're like, I have this deity I feel really close to, or I have this storyline that feels really odd and it keeps showing up in my life, I might be able to do even more with that as well. Work with me on that for a while. I'll let you know when I feel like I'm out of beta with that. But it's something I will hopefully be able to add into consultations. No added fee or anything like that because I'll be beta testing. But I will be able to add that in and see what we can do with more asteroid influence in there. I've been playing around with asteroids for a couple years now, and I feel pretty cool about them. I'm still trying to decide how I feel about them overall and their like usefulness in certain types of astrology. But the playing is what helps me decide that. So it's also really cool how they show up sometimes. I've seen some amazing asteroid stories. I have some amazing asteroid stories, even though I'm still kind of on the skeptical scale. And it'll be fun to get even more in depth with that. Right now, it's a very clunky process to involve asteroids into a chart. You have to get an ephemeris of the asteroids of like that time, and then just compare the ephemeris, literally like an Excel spreadsheet of where all the asteroids were. There's a lot of numbers on it. There's a lot of asteroids. We have over 2,000 named asteroids to work with right now. So again, you can see why if there are 2,000 of them, we need some criteria for which ones mean the most to someone. And so that's one of the things we're discerning right now. But it gets pretty cool. So all the shinies, yes, I'm very stoked. I'm very stoked. It's going to be great. They even work in, there is a free website that you can use even. It's totally free. It's called Stellarium. I'm going to look it up so I can make sure I get it right. Stellarium. And I'll type it in here. And what this does is you plug in your birthday and it will show you what the actual sky looked like. It's not a birth chart. It shows you the sky. And so I use this for relative visibility because Gabe will understand this, I'm sure. We have this thing in astrology where when a planet is visible, it's able to do more. When it's burned up under the rays of the sun because it's too close to the sun, it's not able to do as much. And we give it about like a 15-degree away from the sun situation of saying like if it's 15 degrees or less, it's probably burned up. However, if it's at a certain declination, it may be out of the rays of the sun and therefore may still be visible for longer, which would give it more potency in the chart. And you wouldn't be able to see that unless you could actually look at the sky on that day to see, can I see Mercury? Because declination isn't in your typical astrology chart. So I'm really excited to use Stellarium to, oh, you use Stellarium too. Awesome. It's really exciting to be able to look at that and say, how much light was there in the sky? Do I feel like if you're born at sunset like me, the sun is below the descendant line. However, it's still pretty bright in the sky that day when I was born. So do we maybe think of that as a day chart? This is a debate that goes on in the astrology community of, do you think about it more mathematically, where that's the horizon, the sun's below it, there's the end? Or do you think of it more observationally, where you're like, there was still light in the sky though. So would the sun not still have been the sect light? It's one of those philosophical debates that we have, which is fun. Yeah. So that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm pumped about right now. And I'm actually surprised that they were doing, again, beta testing. It makes sense. I think they're trying to use the Jupiter-Venus conjunction for their release date, and we'll see about that. So that's going to be sometime in June. Let me double check this. I think that they were looking for the Jupiter-Venus conjunction when Venus comes into Cancer along with Jupiter, and both benefics are next to each other, and it's this lovely little thing that they do. But that, I believe, is actually going to be next month. So I'm pretty sure if I go on to, they have a website. It's nechepso.com. They have a roadmap there. The official Nechepso launch is scheduled for June 17th. We'll see if that continues to be the case, because June 17th is going to be right after that square between Saturn and Jupiter. It's a Mars day. I'm sure they've elected it, so I'm just trying to figure that out in my head. You finished your 12th house year. Okay, Ren. So you finished your 12th house year 6 months ago. You're halfway into your first house year. Got a month with Leo, Mars, and then back to Cancer energy, but hoping for more integration. Okay, so it sounds like Mars was in Leo on your birthday, which I take as a pretty important factor. So leaning into that this year, Mars does much better in Leo than Mars does in Cancer. But I would also say that it sounds like your solar return chart had Mars in the perfected sign. So Mars is going to be a little bit more active. There's going to be some situations where you're almost called to figure out who you are. So you may find that perhaps your values, your boundaries, and all those things are called to be defined this year through active situations. So if people have, and you're already halfway through it, right? So you can let me know if you've been facing sort of challenges that help you identify yourself, facing conflicts that help you really actualize who you are. That might be some of the ways that shows up. Yeah. And then, so Mars being back in Cancer would have been a pretty brief thing, but I'm more focused on that solar return, which honestly, I don't get Jupiter in my Cancer in solar return, and I'm bummed about it because on my birthday, Jupiter was still in Gemini. So the benefits of Jupiter in Cancer will probably show up for me more next year after my birthday, according to some of the timing techniques that I'm testing out right now. And some months this year may also have it as well, which is why I defined it this year for myself as making space for stability rather than claiming stability. Yeah, phone confirmation. I'm glad you guys can hear that. Yeah, perfect. This is why I don't turn my phone on vibrate for these lives. I'll turn it on vibrate for some things, but it really does emphasize when I should be paying attention to. And thank you, Liz, for bringing that up for me. Yeah, so that's the gist. I will be looking into that with Nechepso. If I can do what I do with Luna, where I have a discount code for you guys, if I can do that with Nechepso, I will ask them and I will get you guys a discount code. I'm sure they wouldn't mind letting that be more available, but we'll see because they are working very hard on this. I will also say Nechepso, unlike Luna, Luna is web-based. So you have a website you go to, you can kind of download it like an app on your phone, which is helpful. Nechepso is a program that you would download onto your computer, which has its benefits and then its caveats as well. Like I'm not going to be able to use it on my phone. I'll probably still go into AstroSeek and Luna for that. But still really cool. And hopefully eventually they'll make it into an app version and we'll see how that goes too. But what a time to be alive, you guys. Do we have any more questions on anything that's going on right now? Oof, all the apps, isn't it? Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting time as well. Just with so much going on, I feel like technology is about to undergo a renaissance, which I'm kind of looking forward to. I want to see what we do with that. It's been a bit dark realizing how much I've compromised my personality for others, but also reconnecting with friends who bring out the best in me. Right on, Ren. So that to me sounds like, with what I can understand just conceptually about your chart, that you're doing a great job. This is the right time to be doing this work, and you're doing it. So, yay, good for you. And sounds like you're getting everything out of it. So, again, this is another reason and another form of support for us to know that we're not missing out on things, right? If you can find it in the astrology, it's happening at the right time. So you're doing everything right. But also, it's a big encouragement not to bypass, right? You could easily at this time be saying, I compromise a lot of my personality. I'm just going to not think about that. But you're leaning in and you're saying, you know what? I have the energy to do this right now, and I'm going to do it. I want to see what's on the other side of this. I want to see how this story plays out. And I think that's really, really important. Um, you need to actively look at getting a new laptop. I think my laptop should be good for another year or two. I've had it for a couple of years. We're still doing all right, I think, but it's been threatening me a little bit lately. The specs are still good to be able to test Nichepso, but yeah, it's one of those situations where I feel like, again, I wonder if we're on the verge of another technological renaissance where a lot of new features and gimmicks come out, and we start moving forward with that. You go, Glen Coco. That's funny. Thanks, Liz. Cool. Yeah. And the reason I say I wonder if we're on the verge of a technological renaissance is because we have this Uranus working its way into Gemini to trine Pluto, who is in Aquarius. And because that's such a big, broad aspect, it's something that would happen on a sort of a global scale over a slower period of time. And because it's happening in air signs, technology, communications, society, and social issues may be something that comes up around that. I'll talk about that more next month as we start really seeing it show up. It's something that we will see kind of on and off this year, because Uranus will go into Gemini, back up, back into Taurus, and then into Gemini again to meet up with Pluto those couple times. And so with that, we'll be seeing what those two are up to. So stay tuned, because I will be studying it live. And if you want to get more like weekly updates on that, you can follow my Modern School of Ancient Wisdom Patreon. I do a weekly free tier newsletter thing in there that shows you what astrology is coming up, and I get all excited about it. And then I go even deeper for the student study tier. Hopefully we'll find a replacement for water in terms of cooling down newer technology. Yeah, you would think those big brains would find something. But yeah, I would hope so too. And I've been thinking for a while now, when I started wondering about Pluto in Aquarius and things that we might see developing over that 20-year period of time that we're in now. Solar punk was one of my favorite themes that came up. And I was thinking about this like 5 years ago, but I do wonder if we'll find better ways to do things that are more ecologically wise. And I hope that we do. Something that can be a win-win for everybody would be really nice. But there's always also the opportunity that we'll see more regulations on things that come in ways that hopefully make sense and are fair. But also there's always the space that it'll be ones that will eventually want to change. So yeah, Liz, great points on that. Indubitably. What a great word. Random question. Has anyone tried to come up with a birth chart for AI? There are charts for like when ChatGPT was first developed. There are charts for when OpenAI, the company, was first developed. I think we would want the chart for when the AI brain behind ChatGPT was first turned on. But then you have to get into like, what is AI and when did AI begin and all this other stuff. So there's speculation. I think we'll probably get more on that later. I think once we solidify what's what. Right now, I would still consider us to be like in sort of the birth throes of AI, where I'm not really sure if it's defined itself yet. Like, is this the process of being born, or is it born? And we've got to decide that. So I'm going to give it some time. But it's a great question. Um, I think a lot of people were anticipating AI stuff with Saturn and Pisces, particular. I remember that being a topic of conversation where AI was going to develop more. But yeah, to see that showing up is interesting. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, AI. And so full disclosure, Nichepso does incorporate some aspects of AI into its program. You will be able to purchase when it's available the non-AI version and the AI version. This has some astrologers pretty stressed out because we're worried about being replaced by AI when an AI scrubs our knowledge and our data from using it enough to be able to just do it without us. But Nichepso does on their FAQ page, they do have sort of their personal current accountability for how they're going to make sure that AI does not become a replacement for an astrologer. I, as a beta tester, plan on making that one of my priorities as well because I love astrology and it would make me really sad if I didn't get to talk with anybody about it anymore. So let's make sure that the art of astrology remains intact. That's my goal. So yeah, that's my hope anyway. Um, where I think it's on the learn more page, you get to see some videos about it, which is nice. And then the FAQ section has that kind of stuff in there. Isn't AI just theft? Is one of them. The one thing about the AI that I am looking forward to, other than like search features being more helpful, is there is going to be a module in Nichepso that helps with birth chart rectification. The only reason that I would be excited for the AI factor of that is because AI will be able to rectify a birth chart faster than I can. So if someone comes to me and says, I entered my birth time wrong in the intake form, I will be able to get it more correct much quicker. Or if someone says, I don't have a birth time, I can check my math on my own rectification with some certain things where I can say, if you don't have a birth time, can you let me know some important things that have happened in your life? I can plug them in there. And by the time your consultation comes around, hopefully I will have a birth chart that works for you. That's my current intention for the use of AI in Nichepso. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, tech will never be able to do clear skills. Um, but yeah, and the problem is right now astrology is such an interesting marriage of science and Claire skills, right? The intuition of the astrologer, of course, is important, but the math of astrology is also quite there. And so you could do what many websites do with their generic interpretations just fine. But if you put all of the ancient texts into an AI and it has as much ability to reference those and celebrity charts and celebrity biographies and just all of those things, it might do a decent job at averaging out and making predictions, which would then encourage people to not go to actual astrologers as much. So it's not even, is it as competent, but does it scratch the itch better than an actual human might? Or does it scratch the itch more accessibly than an actual human might? And does that discourage people from interacting with the actual astrologer? Just like we think with art, right? When you think, do I want to pay someone to create these graphics for me? Or do I just want to plug into the AI, make me this image? Sometimes the temptation is there and people follow through with that. And that's something that we're all going to have to really think to ourselves on. So hopefully we can find fair ways to do things in the long run and protect people who have the passions that they have so that they can continue being supported in those. I really, really want that for all of us. Yeah. Cool. So we have about 5 more minutes. I am happy to go into, I have probably enough time to go on about one more question and we'll see how we do. I do have to end at 11 today because I have another call I have to jump onto that's going to make me probably better at doing certain things for you in my social media so that I can deliver there even more too. Very excited about that. Gabe, thank you. If you're still watching, you actually turned me to this resource of Captolia, and I've been working with them, and it's going all right. I'm hoping that I find some big aha moments soon, but it's my 12th house year, so we'll see. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. It's a very good year for becoming the 12th house year. If you have decided that you want to take the time it takes to become something, the 12th house year is a good time to take. um, yeah, I'm happy to share with you, Gabe, some of the stuff that I'm noticing. Feel like a stubborn old lady and not want anything to do with AI. I feel like I sometimes I use AI as an accommodation for myself. When I had a tax form and I didn't know what to do with it, I had AI explain it to me like I'm 5, and that really helped me a lot. Um, so there are some ways that I think it really helps when I get overwhelmed. It can help me organize things. Um, yeah, I think that there are uses for it that are very nice to have. Would I be okay without them? Probably yes, I would find a way, right? Um, but that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. When I'm feeling stuck, I like to have the soundboard rather than, um, bending someone's ear over much. So that's where we're at the moment. I am always open to changing my mind on that, though, to make sure that I'm supporting people as best as I can. I want to support people as much as I possibly can because we need it and we deserve it. We deserve it first and foremost. Yeah. Yeah. We have to decide what our boundaries are because right now it doesn't have many. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, that's that whole Saturn Neptune thing, I think is going to be a big theme there. Among other things, I think Saturn and Neptune is going to cover a lot of ground, to be perfectly honest with you. That will it's already in effect at this point with how close those two are in Aries. But it'll culminate itself early next year, right before or around springtime. So springtime in the northern hemisphere. So we're thinking like February, right around that time, I believe. And we'll see. We'll see what's happening. We're already seeing pushes for regulation on AI going through Congress. I've noticed those popping up. I pay attention to this, by the way, mostly for the astrology, and it is one of the juggles that I do in my life to make sure that I'm aware of headlines and things so that I can adapt it to astrology, but that I'm also not freaking myself out, which I am not always successful in. So I want you to know it is something that requires a lot of care, and I have resources that I use to try to do that to the best of my ability. Currently, my favorite resource for checking the news without getting all hyped up on fear is Ground News. It's called Ground News, and it will actually show you everybody who's published this article. It will show you whether this source is leaning one way or another, whether this headline is leaning one way or another, whether the source is from a media conglomerate, an independent thing, another country. So you can see like is it neutral? Like what's the most neutral headline that is not going to push bias at me so that I can just know what happened? And that is where, yeah, I love Ground News too, Hunter. And so I use that because to me, the bias is part of the astrology, right? It shows you some things about the condition. But Dolores Cannon theory. You're gonna have to explain that to me, Allison. And I'm not sure I have enough time to bring it up on this call, but I will research it before next week and I'll bring it up there, or maybe I'll do a little post about it. I can research that and make sure I understand the Dolores Cannon theory appropriately enough to make an educated answer. Sure thing. Yeah, I'm gonna type it into my browser right now so I don't forget to look it up because I love research. That would be my Jupiter in the 9th house, just in case you're wondering. All right, cool. So I will look at that very soon and I will let you know next week, if not sooner. But from what I'm seeing there already, I can tell you some branches of astrology that I'm not very into would definitely do this. And I can give you more details on that next week, maybe in a rant. I can rant about the branches of astrology and the Dolores Cannon theory. I have to decide first what I agree with and what I don't. So I will do that and I will cite sources and give you things that you can look into as well. And we'll have that. So thank you guys very much. I've got to jump off right now, but I value you. I appreciate you. I hope you have the best week ever. And just know it's not just this week that we have good things happening with Venus and Jupiter, right? We get a while with those two being in good condition. So anticipate relief, anticipate comfort, and do everything you can to make space for those things and to claim them when you see them, because you are still the one in power. The stars are just letting us know what time it is. So I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you all very much. I will see you next week when we'll hopefully look at Nechepso and hear a little bit about the Dolores Cannon theory. Thanks, guys. Bye.